Everyone take a nice deep breath, please. So let's be present in the space. This is a time where the activation that wants to come forth is around how to eat for your new anatomy. And I'm going to take a few moments to be present to receive the activation. And meanwhile, we're going to continue to do some deep breathing. Breath work is so important. So I'm going to invite you to take 3 nice deep breaths, please. Thank you. And I just want to say that deep breathing is really important as it even relates to how we digest our food and how we eat. And we should actually be doing deep breathing even as we are eating. So I know that may not be something that's common or often talked about, but I felt guided to bring it up now that we need to incorporate breath work, intentional breath work into our eating. Let's take another nice deep breath, please. So as I'm being present to receive the wisdom and insight for the activation that will come forth as it relates to how to eat for your new anatomy, what's coming up for me to share at this moment is really about the importance of discovering your own unique individuality as it relates to your food and diet, and how over the years the conditioning has been, or templates that have been offered are in reference to how you should be eating, and kind of sometimes giving a one-size-fits-all approach to how you leverage the 4 food groups or the 5 food groups, however many food groups that they introduce at different times. But there's just different templates that people have been subscribing to, and really just on sort of a autopilot way of beingness as it relates to their diet. But we're in the time of individuality where you really have to be present and know what is going to be best for you. And over the years, even though there have been some of the customized frameworks that are offered, but in this newer experience, we have to actually be more intentional and step even more outside of even some of those that try to give you a way that you can customize it for your success. We have to really come into a new way of being with this, because we are talking about having a new anatomy. And so though some of those frameworks can be supportive in your current anatomy for sure, but in order to really ward off a lot of disruptions, and for some of you who already are having those disruptions happen with your health, we want a more gentler way to be able to bring about wholeness and optimum well-being within the body. And the new anatomy has that template and supports you on every level in order to make that possible, and for you to be able to heal and be whole in the most gentlest ways. So, with that being said, is that we have to really understand that this is something that you can't just be on autopilot with. You really have to be present. And even what's going to come up today for you will be something that is relevant to you now, but it doesn't mean that you won't have to revisit a process like this in order to discover what the new anatomy is calling for in that new now moment. So even if you are given, let's say, some wisdom, or you receive some wisdom on, I need to eat like this for the next 30 days, but you still have to be present even within those 30 days to see if there's some shifting, that has to occur. And so I just say really take it day by day, but certainly week by week. And I'm not sure at this moment exactly what the wisdom and insight will be that comes forth. But one thing I know that I'm here to do to facilitate is just to provide the space, sacred space for you to be able to receive that wisdom and insight, for yourself, and not necessarily give you a step-by-step plan on how to do it or how to customize it. Now, some wisdom and insight may come through that can be kind of a core some core fundamentals for everyone. But ideally, it's going to really be about you taking the time to tune into your body and to know what you need, during this time. And again, we're talking about being able to eat according to what supports your new anatomy in the present, because that is what is coming forth and being extracted from within. So let's take 3 more nice deep breaths, please. Okay, so at this time, we're just going to be present. Is what I'm already getting is that there's going to be the wisdom and insight for how to support the new anatomy that's coming forth, but also there'll be the wisdom and insight of what you need to also do in the present of the present anatomy in terms of how you ingest food and what you digest and what's going to be best even for the current anatomy. It's interesting because they work simultaneously. They're separate entities, so to speak, but obviously they operate as a whole because they're really just different dimensions of, of a whole component. And so this has to really do with your overall anatomy, even though we're talking about food here, but from an emotional, spiritual level, all of this is connected. So you're going to be receiving your own insight and wisdom and guidance according to how to even support yourself with food that will support your emotions, your mental well-beingness. So also what can happen during this time is that you may receive insight in terms of supplements and herbs, just different things that are going to be supportive to you, even outside of what you traditionally think about in terms of the food that you eat. This is really about what you're ingesting in general and the support that will come forth for the anatomy that is emerging, as well, again, as the current anatomy that you are accustomed to to treating, so to speak, or just living with, because that's the human experience that we have been given, and those different templates. So you can be learning some different ways. It's going to be really great for you during this time to really see your body as a partner. It's kind of a separate entity, even though you are collective, but being able to look at your body as if it is another living being organism, and how you would be facilitating to help, support that as a friend or someone that you're trying to take care of. Because sometimes when you're just looking at it in terms of just you, a lot of times people will sacrifice themselves and they won't really do what they need to do to take care of themselves and support themselves in the most highest and beneficial ways. But when you can see your body as a partner and even ask in terms of your anatomy, so to speak, ask what would support you, and have a relationship with your body and with your anatomy and with your new anatomy, so to speak. So let's take another nice deep breath. Okay. So let's just be with this sacred space that has been created. And the guidance at this moment is to just be present with the newer aspect of the new anatomy that's coming forth. And this is just an awareness. So that's what's wanting to take the center stage at this time, is actually the new anatomy template. And again, it will be the more dominant, overtaking template that you want to experience. So it's a very simple process that is coming forth to be facilitated. And it's just starting with the simple question of just asking your new anatomy, what foods would best support your overall well-being at this time. Take a deep breath, please. Now, some of you may be receiving insight for the day, the next 3 days, a week, and it could be 2 weeks, a month. And you can ask for the clarity around that. Whatever you hear, you can ask, is this for today? What is the time frame? And if you're not receiving anything, just allow this to be just a moment by moment process that you are just being present with, maybe just to receive a new way of viewing things and approaching your body and the way you'll be with food and relationship. Take a deep breath, please. Let's give a little bit more time here. Now, in addition to that, hydration is very important. So this would be a good time to ask from your new anatomy standpoint, ask about the hydration factor. Ask your body from this new anatomy standpoint, what is it that is most needed and required for hydration? And hydration is not just about water. So what is going to hydrate your life? It's not just about drinking. Certain foods hydrate you. So that's why you want to put it in the context of your hydration factor for this moment. So ask your new anatomy. Check in with your body. So what is required for hydration during this time? I'm going to ask you to do some more deep breathing. Just keep breathing deeply as you are receiving this wisdom and insight unique for you. So what's coming up during this time is some more specifics, and I'm being guided to speak in terms of just the different, if you want to call them, schools of thoughts around eating, or different paradigms, I should say, around eating. Because there's the organic, there's the vegan, there's the meat minimalist, there, or just the general diets. And some of you may find that you're in some of those paradigms at different times. But again, because things can be shifting, you may be guided to eat a vegetarian or a vegan diet a few times a week. And then some of you who are vegan may be actually guided to become meat minimalist, part-time vegans, or shift back to having some type of flesh in your diet. So you really have to be present with your new anatomy to receive that insight. Shocking, I know, for some of you. Well, no, yeah. I'm fixed in my framework. I've made a vow to this. Well, sometimes you have to renew your wellness vow or shift that, because different phases of life require different things. We have to be open to that, because your unique design is really never about one fixed framework for the rest of your life. Sometimes it's a combination. But being intentional about your total well-being and being committed to that in this newer way of living and thriving to achieve optimum well-being. This is what the new anatomy journey is all about, in learning how to eat at this phase according to the new anatomy. Take a deep breath, please. And so you, during this time, could receive some specifics, because that's what kind of the space is calling forth for, is that though you were present to receive some insights about how you needed to start eating, if you didn't receive insights on specifics to eat from a specific paradigm or to kind of customize and mix that up, this is the time where you would be receiving, that wisdom. And all this is still from a very entry level process, I should say, meaning it's still emerging for you. This, for a lot of you, is still new, even having a relationship with your body and then a relationship to food, to even know how you eat for your emotions, how you eat for your optimum well-being. Most people just think about eating just as a way of survival and, of course, nutritional value, but not actually being really intentional about a relationship with food. And now that the new anatomy is coming forth, you really have to be intentional that way, because there's a different level of support for that anatomy than there is for the current anatomy that you are accustomed to. Take a deep breath, please. So now we're going to be present with the space in terms of your current anatomy. It's so interesting how there's distinctions there, right? So your current anatomy, because that's where your conscious and subconscious mind at this phase is attuned to, because that's what is accustomed to flowing and operating from. So there may be some insight and wisdom that comes up in terms of some other specifics of how to actually support that way of thinking and understanding in the anatomy shift during this time. So just want to be present with that. For some of you, something may come up, and for some of you, maybe nothing. It's just that the new anatomy is very clear about the dominant intent, and what is shared there supports both realms of that way of being within your anatomy. So take a deep breath, please. I'm going to ask that you continue to take deep breaths. About 5 more, please. Now we're just going to be present just with the overall experience. This process is actually starting to feel complete. So we will ground and activate all of what has come up for you. But before doing that, just going to be present with the space that you can ask your new anatomy at this point, your new bodies, in a sense. Is there anything else that you need to know? And that could be outside of just the food aspect at this point. Just other ways that you can take care of yourself. Or other components, yes, that will support your highest and best good to help you get the maximum benefits from eating according to your new anatomy. Take a deep breath, please. So what are the essentials for you, even outside of the food aspect, that can support your new anatomy? Take 3 deep breaths, please. To something that's actually coming up right now is just in terms of just supporting your digestion, your digestive system. So some of you may receive some wisdom and insight just around how you can support your overall health, but specifically your digestive system during this time. And also, something else that is coming up is that to be specific in terms of your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, physical well-being, it's calling forth on specifics. And even though some of that wisdom and insight might have come up for you during the process early on, but right now, there's something around that is calling forth for the activation energy as well. So give me just a moment here, just being present. Okay, it was coming up for clarification, meaning in terms of, just the overall well-being, other things that you needed to know, but then also to just reiterate, going back to the food aspect, is that what will help support the new anatomy, the new emotional well-being state and mental state, in addition to what's going to support the physical state, even as it relates to your food. And even breath work, going back to that, breath work is so important, and the direct correlation between breath work and eating. A lot of times people don't take the time to really do breathing, conscious and intentional breathing during their meal process. And it's really important that you do that. Take another nice deep breath, please. Okay. So now we're going to anchor and activate all of what has come up for you during this time. So I want you to imagine that you have done sort of a quick review of this experience. And for some of you, if you weren't writing things down, to have captured that, and you are really just having to rely on just your memory at this point, just be present and sort of just be in review. And even if you don't remember all of everything, just being present with the experience itself, things will come back to your remembrance at the right time. The activation will bring forth that wisdom and give you the insight on the guidance that you need to take moving forward. Take a deep breath, please. So as we're present with the whole of this experience, the new anatomy communicating the current anatomy, communicating all that will support your highest and total well-being during this time, according to the new emergence and activation of the ascended anatomy that is within you. We activate the wisdom and the insight, the knowledge that has come forth, send forth the resonance energy throughout the entire body, the entire anatomy, joined together as the new emerging anatomy and the current active anatomy. We activate the overtaking trajectory of well-being that the new anatomy and how to eat and support this new anatomy be the dominant intent within the circuitry during this time. Take a deep breath, please. Let's just be present with this activation. Just feel into it. Feel that awakening, activating energy within your cells, and knowing that your digestive system is supportive of what's coming forth. Your nervous system is supportive of what's coming forth. Your physical and mental well-being, emotional well-being, all of this is supportive. It's all harmonized. And now we take time to harness the power of this experience so that it plays out in your everyday life at the highest level of optimal living and well-beingness. Take a deep breath, please. We are complete. And before closing out, my encouragement to you is to be present also with how a plan can unfold for you, how you create a master plan to bring more structure and order to this process. Some of you are going to be guided just to go with the flow and let it be kind of a day-to-day, a moment-by-moment type of experience, and that's fine. Where others of you are going to need some type of structure and accountability system. But my final encouragement is to take at least 5 to 10 minutes a day to be present with your body and start to have a relationship with your body. And do some deep breathing, even if it is in sets of 3s for 5 minutes. This is going to support your overall experience as this new anatomy, your new ascendant anatomy, is continuing to emerge. This emerges in phases. Today was a phase that's becoming one of the overarching or overtaking trajectories, because the food aspect and the hydration aspect to support your highest and best well-being is essential, is necessary. And those are the aspects and elements during this time that can't really wait. But this is, again, just a phase. But just continue to leverage this experience, and it will organically expand for you into the next level of what you require moving forward. So before we conclude, I'm going to invite you to take 3 nice deep breaths, please. And I send you away with the highest intent of your total well-being during this time. Thank you.